Welcome to the Chase Merrell Podcast, episode 8. And today, I have my friend Jordan Grace with me.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Jordan?
Well, in Australia, we say, "G'day, mate. How you going?"
G'day, mate. Oh, I still haven't gotten
You probably
better.
haven't heard that for a minute, mate.
It's been a long time. Yo, man. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome to just the conversation. Thanks for taking time to be with me today.
It's an honor. Thank you for having. I've been following along. You've been doing great things and great conversations and great stories, and people relate to great stories, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Well, part of why you're here today is because of the 52 project that I've been walking through, and 52 people who have made an impact on my life. You're one of those 52, bro. And there's a lot of things that I could go into just from our stories, but the biggest one I think is the fact that 2010, right? So 13 years ago,
Wow.
we did a 4-month lap of Australia together. Music tour.
Wow.
And that's where
We did 100 concerts together.
yeah, we spent a lot of time, real close proximity. Oh man, there's so many things about that I one day would love to just debrief with you. Cause I was like 19, maybe 18, 19.
Do you still have like a bunch of videos and photos from that time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's all.
Man, we just need to sit down, eat some good food, and just watch a bunch of old photos. And it'd be so fun.
Oh my gosh. You know, one of the things I thought about recently was how much, okay, so initially, like right when I got there, and we were about to start this tour, we had like a week to kind of prep and pack and get everything going. And there was like, I just had such a, like, I was selfish. I was a scumbag. I'm thinking about like some of the like times where we had to like choose, you know, where we could sleep or not or whatever. And like, I remember looking back, like, I don't know why this came to my mind, but a few weeks ago, or maybe a few months ago, I thought about that season and I was like, who I was as a young punk, prideful, you know, all these different kinds. These Australian guys must have been like, who is this dude like just jumping on, you know, Skype to talk to his girlfriend for 5 hours a day. Like, what is this dude doing? But anyway, that was what an amazing experience. I'm sure
It was life-changing for all of us, I believe.
Yeah.
I felt like we were all at an age in our life where we were trying to figure out who we were. And yeah, we still haven't figured out that perfectly. But you know what I mean? Like, we're all at that pinnacle age where it's like, hey, we're going to school, we're going what job we're doing, what country we're going to live in, you know. It's, you know, there's such an important time in life. And I feel like we're like a band of brothers. We kind of like encourage each other, pray with each other, cry with each other, whatever that 4 months looked like. It was kind of like boot camp. It was sick.
It really was. It was incredible. It changed my life forever. And I mean, that's part of why you're here in this conversation, because of that season of my life, and how you were involved with it, you and your family, and some incredible other people, you know, Trenton Kruger, who I'd love to have as a part of this conversation as well in the future episodes. Stephen Kent, you know, just some amazing people. You mentioned Digby before we started recording, just some people that I'll never forget.
Oh, man.
But man, so jumping in today, you know, part of this conversation is the why of this whole podcast is really to help people get freed up from what's holding them back so they can get built up into who they were made to be. And so we're going to talk about that today. But before we do, will you kind of just give us an intro into who you are, a snapshot, which I know is really difficult to do in a span of like, and where you're at, what are you doing, where you at?
So I currently live in Nashville, Tennessee. Absolutely love it here. I'm from Australia originally. Grew up on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. My dad was, still is, but was a pretty well-known Christian country singer. He's done 30 years of, evangelism and touring, our great country. A lot of countries around the world and America. And that was kind of my childhood, was kind of full-time ministry was, that was the norm. You know, kind of, my dad always said you're spoiled for the ordinary because, rarely in school, always traveling, playing in thousands of different places and a great childhood. But it is interesting because you didn't have a normal life. So whenever you got comfortable or, got to meet people, you're always leaving somewhere, you're always going somewhere. And
speaking of that travel, like that's, you came to the States.
Yeah,
in California, and a super random specific area, like Auburn, Rockland, Roseville.
So my parents started a nonprofit, and legally they had to live in America for 3 years, and this is when I was like 14. And so, we had a lot of good friends in Roseville and Grass Valley and Northern California. So they were like, let's go do 3 years up there. And then, that's how we got acquainted.
Yeah. Yeah, and you may never not. You may not remember the moment like I do, because you had a lot of people you met throughout those times you lived here. But I was working at Chick-fil-A, and you guys all these Australian dudes, and I was like,
oh my gosh,
at that point in my life, like I was slowly starting to like, I mean, Hillsong and all that stuff. I mean, the worship world of that was like impacting me.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude, you came in and I was working, and I just heard you guys' accents, and I was like, what? This is God. I'm going to talk to these dudes, and yeah, crazy, right? So then Shane, you're one of your older brothers. He about a year later, 2 years later, I was making some music and I needed a website to get made. And so I was looking all over the internet for somebody to make me a website. And I found this media company called Grace Media something, and then reached out, and he got back to me and, said this stuff. And I connected the dots. I met you guys at Chick-fil-A.
Wow, man. My pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure indeed, dude. That's the chicken that changes lives right there. Yeah, sorry. I just had to mention that because it was you were 14. Cool. I think I was 15 or 16. But that was the moment. You guys spent a lot of time at Chick-fil-A.
So then, after that 3 years, we were going back to Australia, and that's when you were like, "Hey, I'm going to come with." We did the 4-month tour. I was in the band with Trent at the time, and we did that band for 8 years or whatever. And so we came back and forth to America a lot. And eventually us as my brother Shane and my best friend Trent, we were like, we just have to go do a long season in America and just give this thing a shot. Australia is a great country, but there isn't much opportunity for the arts. If you're an actor or in music or something like that, you really got to go chase your dream. It doesn't just, in America, I call this place the land of opportunity. You have so much opportunity here. In Australia, it's the land of lifestyle. And if you ever want to live in the land of lifestyle, sometimes you got to go back to the land of opportunity and work your butt off.
Yeah, right.
And then you can go back to the land of lifestyle. But otherwise, me personally, I got so comfortable in Australia and kind of lazy, and you kind of just have coffee every day, go to the beach, and it's like, that sounds great. But if you've got desires and passions and dreams in your life, you can't just go to a place where everyone's telling you just to chill out.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in Nashville. I'm surrounded by people that every day you're challenging me to be better at my craft, better as a person. Surround yourself with people who just naturally make you better at what you do. That's why I just love this town. It's there's nowhere else like it, honestly. Yeah. So we did California for 8 years, and then me and my wife did a season up in Montana. Working for a nonprofit that kind of ended kind of ugly. It ended up to be a cult, kind of a pretty dark time in my life. But you know what? I kind of feel like we were called to go up there to pull the Band-Aid off. And it hadn't been pulled off for 27 years. This ministry had been running for so many years and hurt too many people and lost too much money. So it was kind of like we went up there just for a year, but it was really just us like saying, hey guys, this is evil, this is bad. And we had to pull the Band-Aid off and just kind of let it, the house of cards just fall. And that was tough.
Can I ask you a little bit more about that? Just
sure, man, go for it.
The journey, like, so like, you mentioned having a upbringing in music, ministry, evangelism, that world with your dad being a gospel, Christian, like country gospel, like there was like, he really was. I remember when I got there in 2010, like I didn't understand the scope of who he really was until I got there. And
he's kind of like a Johnny Cash, kind of like, he'll sing in the bars, but he also goes sing in the church. And he's like, there's no walls that he won't sing in.
He was really
whether it's a jail or...
Yeah, he was really a pioneer, like, I mean, in a lot of ways, and so like he had no problem going to a church of 12 or a stadium of, 2,000, whatever, or not stadium, but I mean, he played it in front of a lot of people, but I loved that, but you got to, so you were brought along for a lot of ministry, and you probably got to see a lot of things, good and bad in that.
Seen a lot of miracles. I've seen a lot of good things that, God has done. This experience, kind of flipped a lot of, people like, oh, you must have like such an easy, perfect life. You grew up in a little, great Christian family. And man, my world got rocked up there because I've seen what evil people can do in God's name.
And you're talking about the Montana experience right now. Yeah.
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 Like, and put a smile on their face and do just corrupt things and just pocket the money, buy more properties, use donated money however they please, and be very dishonest with people that are giving $250,000 a month to something willingly, beautiful hearts doing that. And then a ministry that's just, completely, misusing the money.
Yeah.
So it's, that situation is still going on today. There's still legal battles. There's a lot of unpaid wages. And there was 300 people up there working for this, this ministry. So it was a lot to take in. Go like your world just kind of falling apart. Just going, God, where are you in all this? Yeah. Like this is, I can't even.
How did it affect your view of just organized religion, if you will? I mean, the institution of ministry of the church.
Definitely, you go into a bit of a shell for a while, and you kind of, it's just a natural, I would think that anyone would just naturally go into a depression.
Yeah.
Spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever that looks like, I think everyone would deal with that differently. But for me, what really got me was a lot of people that I thought were like my people didn't believe me. And that hurt like a lot. People that, have had my back since the beginning, and then you call them and tell them, and, and they're like, you need to leave the door open and better than when you found it or when you walked in. And I'm like, you guys don't understand the situation. You got to believe. And that was probably the hardest thing for me, is when people just don't believe your word on something, on a situation that is very, very bad. And that took a while because, Christian people can use a lot of Christianisms and kind of just say these things without thinking about, you really should just hear this person's story and really feel the weight of it and really, believe what they're saying, and help them through it, not just say, you're doing the wrong thing.
That's hard. I know that sentiment you just described right there, just the feeling of listening to somebody's story or experience in regards to just a specific example, church hurt or ministry betrayal, in those kind of ways. A lot of people have experienced some level of that, and even people listening to this podcast either have or know somebody who has. How do you here's something I'd love for you to speak to. How, when you think about how you wish people would have responded to you in those moments, you kind of alluded to it, but how could have someone responded better in that space that would have been helpful for you in that situation to move forward in, speak to that person, because I guarantee there's people listening that have had other people in their life that are like, I'm telling you, this is not healthy or toxic, or this is my experience. And they're stuck with figuring out how to respond in a way that's the best for everybody involved.
I think as a society, we're so good at talking now and we're terrible at listening. Kindness is really rare. And you look at politics, you look at religion, you look at everything. Everyone's so good at speaking their opinion so quickly and so loud in the room, trying to get their point across so that everyone hears it. And rarely people are just happy to listen to someone and go, wow, you've got a really interesting point of view. Would you mind hearing mine? And just this beautiful mutual back and forth where maybe we'd actually learn something from each other instead of just, oh, you vote Biden, I hate you. You vote Trump, I hate you. Whatever it is, there is so much division within people now that it's so sad because there's no back and forth. And there's such in situations where you're going through something so dark, people are so quick to share their opinion and they just suck at listening.
Yeah. It's so
and
true.
I think there's just an art of just, hey, let's just slow down trying to be it's like if everyone's trying to be the leader or everyone's trying to be the pastor or that person in their life, it comes across so arrogant because everyone's just trying to bark their, way of life or the way of thinking or their way of prophecy or their way of the Bible or the whatever it is. It's just like let's just go back to kindness, man. Like that would be my heart, is just kindness rocks. Kindness is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just slow down and listen to people, because people's stories, you'll learn from them.
Yes.
But
yeah, no, that's so good. You mentioned your wife. Tell like share a little bit more like that journey. Like, so how long you've been married and like your world there? Because that was Montana. Was that together, or were you guys together then? Or so give us a little bit of that.
So it's been 8 years now. We've got a little boy named Jamison. He's 2.5.
Have you been married 8 years?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, bro.
Whew. Bro, I just celebrated 10, and I cannot believe, for some reason, like I can't believe you've been married for 8 years, bro. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Congratulations.
And,
okay, and then you just said you have a little boy.
Yeah, James. So he, which is cool. Like we were told we couldn't really have kids. Like she had like a 3 or 4% chance of ever having kids.
Wow.
So we just kind of always thought we would adopt. Wasn't really on our radar. And just before lockdown, I remember I was in the shower and she like just chucked it in the shower, and I picked it up and it's like pregnant. I'm like, what? I'm like, what?
It's so
after
awesome.
6 years of marriage of, not really caring about protection or anything because you can't get pregnant anyway. So it was kind of one of those things where you're like, when your mind's set on just getting adoption, which, I'd still would love to do it. I think is a great thing, but, there's something incredibly special about seeing my little Jamison and seeing him look pretty much exactly like me.
Yeah.
Seeing him start to play music, and it's pretty epic, bro.
He's a spitting image, dude. He's adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been definitely have had our highs and lows throughout this whole thing. It's definitely tested our marriage immensely. She has been incredibly supportive. She came to Nashville because, I said I think that's the right place to go. I didn't really have any reason to go to Nashville, but I felt safe there, and I think there was people who were believers who I trusted and people that I knew would hear me out, and it was a safe place to go. And I think in times of, despair and in times of hardships, you do just want to run to people that you feel safe with. And Nashville for me, that's been it. And it's been a great healing season. We're back into church. It's been good. It's taken a few years. It's not something that just, snap your fingers
overnight.
In.
Yeah.
And I think people need to understand that too, because so many people are like, oh, what church are you locked into? And then you kind of feel like shamed for not jumping straight back into like the full, it's like, well, why can't I have church right here with some friends? And, just because it doesn't have some, but like, I do see the importance of church, but, people also need to understand it takes people time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
that's really important. There's also, you mentioned even some people feeling like maybe ashamed or guilty or some sense of that, which even I think at times can even create a greater barrier or distance or hardness in people's hearts towards that, or the people that are representing that, because of that very, pressure to, it's tough. I think you're right. It just takes time, and not everybody's timetable or time frame is the same. So okay, like I'm definitely going to make sure people know where to find like just Jordan Grace music stuff. We'll talk about that probably a little bit towards the end here, but you have been in like for the most part, the Christian music world most of your life.
Naturally, I grew up, very much a part of Hillsong, very much part of the church. Dad did, Billy Graham crusades, Franklin Graham crusades, Will Graham crusades. Like that's been, and they're all organizations and people that I have so much love for. People, can say what they want, but at the end of the day, there's beautiful people in organizations that have beautiful hearts and have a real love for people. And, I can't really speak poorly of, the way things, way that people are doing things, because at the end of the day, God's using them in some way. Yeah. And if their hearts are on him, then I can't really question it. But what I did like about Dad was he was a people's person. He played people's music. So we never were a part of just one church. We were part of the church. You know, your heart was for the masses.
Yeah.
And that might look different. It might be in a jail. It might be in a bar. It might be in a church. And so that was definitely my heart. And so it's interesting because we were doing Christian music. We kind of, you know, when I'm talking about the band, me, Trent, and Shane, we come over here, and you kind of had to form yourself into a formula or a method to kind of fit in or sound more like something that's popular. And that was kind of a pretty current thing, is like, this is the downside of probably most industries, is you kind of got to form yourself to what's popular to try and make your hobby a career.
Sure.
And that kind of killed us, honestly, as a Christian band, because we were could play anywhere, could play music to anyone. Our method wasn't just one formula. It was it almost kind of, you know, we played to too many various types of demographics that they didn't like that. You
broke kind of the mold in a lot of ways.
Exactly. And so, but it also, you know, people didn't really want to back us. Labels didn't want to sign us, you know. So it was really, really hard for 8 years. We, we lived in a 12-seater van for 8 years and did 8 laps of America. And seriously, some of the best, you know, moments and memories is with Shane and Trent and the band, just touring around the country and seeing this great country, falling more in love with this country. But eventually got over to Nashville, like after the Montana season, and just had no idea what to do. Tried to jump back into that Christian music, but it was weird. Like all of the doors just shut. Everything I tried to do in that area, just nothing was really happening. And I was working at a golf course. You know me, absolute golf fanatic. So I was like,
I just saw. I feel like this is news to me because I just saw. We follow similar things on Instagram and on the PGA Tour something on Instagram recently, and I saw you commented, like your comment was the thing that popped up on the thing, and I was like, what? Jordan Grace likes golf. Why is he invested into this right now? And it made me think like, I need to hear a little bit more. What do you play now? Like, what is that?
Oh, I play all the time, man.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah, and when I worked at the course, I'd play every day, so I got decently good. But where was I?
Oh, sorry. Okay, Christian music was doors were closing.
So just working at a golf course. Eventually, worked back in a cafe. Got back into cooking, and I got this random email from this guy in Amsterdam saying, "Hey, you got a really cool voice. Would you mind singing on a DJ's EDM track?" And I'm like, "What's EDM?" I had no idea what EDM was. Or, you know, I just didn't grow up in that world. And so I listened to it. I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And so I sang on it. And, you know, the song went really well on this EDM label. And I was like, oh. And then I started getting hundreds of requests on my Instagram for, you know, young DJs wanting me to sing on their song. And I'm like, oh, I guess there's like a demand for this. There's like kind of people want like songwriters to sing on dance beats. So this was kind of like new to me, kind of out of nowhere. And 3 years later, man, like it's my full-time business now. I can't keep up. It's insane how I'm technically doing the same thing, you know. I'm still writing songs about life, God. It's just a different music behind it. And I think this is what I've learned throughout is you can be super talented, have all this purpose, and you grow up in a certain way and you think that's your lane. And for me, Christian country music, that was my lane, and I gave it my everything for 15 years. And as soon as I did the same lyrics, the same melodies, but just in a different lane with a different music, it's like can't keep up. And so I was like, whoa. Sometimes we are just telling God that we need to make it work in this lane, and just pushing it. And like, we're almost telling him what to do. And then he brings along this new opportunity. I'm like, how about you just try it over here where I can actually use you? Because there's no demand for you over here. There's no need for you over here. There's lots of great Christian music.
Wow.
And so he puts me in this lane. And bro, it's like, you know, look at my schedule. It's like I'm booked for 4 months. I'm just singing songs for DJs all over the world. And it's like, I still get to sing the same thing. They don't care what I sing about. They just want an awesome, catchy hook, and they play it at festivals all over the world. I go to Vegas and sing, and where I've got to, you know, the conversations I've got to have with, you know, big famous DJs who are now my friends. It's like, I could never in a million years ever think that this would be what Jordan Grace would be doing, or say that music is my career. So honestly, man, that's what I've learned out of this whole season is sometimes we are just so stuck in just telling God what's our lane. And hey, you could do the same thing just somewhere else where you're actually really, really needed. And dude, your whole world will change.
Yeah. I think about the place that you're presently at, the opportunities that you have to impact the people that you're around that you would have never been able to be around had you stayed in that lane that you thought you needed to stay in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so huge, because there's a lot of people that they feel boxed into a lane. Maybe they feel like there's just a lot of things I think this would be kind of the question that I would frame the why of the podcast, back, but specifically to you, like what, helping free people up from what's holding them back to be who they were made to be. I think a lot of people are held back by the lane they think they have to stay in, but there may be a different lane that God really has made for them specifically and uniquely to go in. And that could be more, when you think about your life, what has been some of the greatest hindrances or things that have held you back from being who you were made to be, and maybe moving into something even in this new season? Because you're obviously Jordan Grace, EDM hook singer isn't who you are, right? But
yeah.
Like, it's just so maybe speak to that just for a moment.
I think you're a dad. First, foremost, you want to be the best dad you possibly can, and obviously a great husband. But when kids come into the picture, I think everyone's world changes. I know for me it did. And it's funny because I used to have like a struggle in like doing this amount of songs. And then when James came around, it was like I go into every session and every writing thing now, and I'm like, I have to deliver because my kid needs to eat. And so like your whole world is just like, yeah. I don't care if I'm tired. You're so, honestly, I feel like a lot of my music success is come from James coming into my life, because there's no plan B. I have to deliver. I have to do this. And honestly, it's kind of the kick in the butt that I needed. What I used to take a week doing, I can do in 2 hours, because it's just, you get into a rhythm, you get into a routine, and you want to give that kid the best life as possible. So I think he changed my life greatly. But who I am, you know what? I always felt like from a young age, songs were just 3-minute stories of my life. And I just love sharing those 3-minute stories with as many people as possible. And if those little 3-minute stories can point someone closer to God, wherever they are in the world, whatever season of life they're in, I raise my hand to that every time. And I feel like that's always been my desire, is just, I don't really care if I'm singing. And in a lot of what I do now is, I write for other people. And I love that. I get 3 minutes for someone to share their story. And it's, every song that I've ever released or do sing, I could tell you which part of season of life that is. It's very personal to me.
Sure.
And I get to share the highs and lows with, those people. And so I think, of course, I love praying for people, leading people to Christ. But I feel like songs are just those little nuggets where people just if you can make someone think after a song about the afterlife or eternity, or just something about their purpose, it's like that feels super good in my soul, that I was a part of helping them think about the bigger picture. Yeah. Because we are so conditioned just to think so small, so present, just this, whatever's on this, our life is so consumed now that we kind of miss thinking about the bigger stuff. I feel like that's a huge part of what I love doing, is just trying to write songs that open people's minds to God.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like you're more, when you think about the confidence that you've experienced in your life, or the insecurity in that spectrum? So like insecurity to confidence.
I think letting go of what people think is a huge part. Like, especially, in the church world, people are, can be really harsh and pretty good at telling you how you should live your life. And, you know, I've had a lot of hate for what I do. I sing in the secular world. I've had a lot of Christian people reach out to me through mean Instagram DMs saying I've sold myself to the devil. And, you know, I've had pretty harsh stuff. And it's like, wow, they have no idea who I am, or
Yeah.
the conversations I'm having with people that also really need the Lord. So it's, you know, I think letting go of, you're never going to please everyone.
Yep.
Everyone's going to have a different methodology, or, you know, a different way of looking at a verse. And you're never going to please everyone. And until we get home into heaven, we're never going to have it fully figured out. So we just need to have grace for people.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, there is freedom in just having grace for people that, you know what, they're not going to understand. And that's totally cool. I'm going to wake up, make my boy breakfast, get in the studio, make the best songs I can.
Yeah.
And go to the park and play with my kid. You know, like, I just feel like if you're so consumed about what everyone else is thinking about you, you know, maybe get off social media for, like, you know, like I have to do it because of my music, but I can't stand the stuff, honestly. I just, you know, as the older I get, the more I've fallen in love with just actual community, just the people that are on my street. I'm like, I would rather go hang out and, you know, push the kids on the swings and then be consumed about how many likes I got on my Instagram. You know, it's like,
yeah, totally. I think that's beautiful, by the way. I just think that so many people, yeah, I hope that they really listen to that and take that to heart. That you mentioned that just some of the pushback that you've gotten, even from some of the Christian community or the Christian music community, to where you're at and what you're doing. You know, and some of those people, obviously, like they are making judgments based on something that they don't understand or know, or they don't really know who you are or where you're at. That sentiment about, like, you know, oh, you've sold your soul to the devil kind of thing, right? You hear that a lot. You hear or see that in not a lot, but in several people's journeys that maybe have crossed the bridges between, you know, Christian and secular and those kind of spaces. How have you, or are you staying true to the things that really matter, to your faith, to those kind of things, when it comes to, obviously, that industry, the music industry, the film industry? My brother, I had a conversation with him a few episodes ago in a similar way with, you know, he's in LA doing film and acting and all of that. And there's a similar kind of, oh, you know, you're doing different kind of content and creating different things now that maybe aren't as quote unquote Christian as you used to. So you've just sold your soul to the devil. And he's always had a challenge with that too. But how do you stay true and healthy, so that your heart remains in Jesus's hands, if you will, through this journey? Because I think that's important for even younger musicians or actors or artists to think about, looking at you and your success and going, okay, he can do it, I can do it. But how do they stay healthy?
I think the importance of small group community, people that you can confide with on the daily, and then people aren't scared to tell you to wake up, or snap out of it, or don't be stupid.
So you still have people in your life that you give
100%.
You give ear
and
to.
honestly,
that.
I do therapy every week.
Yeah.
I think it's
awesome.
Anyone who tells me you don't need therapy, you probably need therapy.
100%. 100%.
Because if you ever get to a point in your life and think you have it all together, you are dead wrong. Like, you know, life is a journey, and you're never going to get to the end of it until you're in heaven. And I just feel like the quicker you can find people you really can cry on their shoulder and tell them your the deepest, darkest secrets, and actually, you know, really be vulnerable with people. You know, we are so good at hiding who we, you know, this society, we are so good at hiding, and, you know, it's just causing so many problems. No one feels okay to share things that they've done or do, because they're so fearful of the response and the shame and the guilt. And I think, you know, whether it's, you know, it could be from the church, it could be from their family, it could be from religion, it could be from so many things where they feel that. But I think the importance of finding people that you can just let loose and be yourself and talk through things. And as I said, kindness is king, man. Just finding people that will, talk through those things with you and in a graceful and kind spirit and not make you feel like the scum of the earth. And too many people feel like the scum of the earth these days. And I think that, I think small group community, man, that's the king. And obviously, get into your Bible. There's never a bad time to do that.
Yeah, it's so true, dude. That's it. I think that is a beautiful response, and I think when I hope what people take away from that is your authenticity. I mean, and that's kind of, when I think about you, so kind of wrapping up the conversation today, I want to just speak life over you in the way I've watched you from a young age, because so how old are you right now?
I'm 30.
Okay. It's like, you're only a year behind me, I think. And watching you from 15, 16 years ago, pursue the things that, man, I really believe God placed in your heart. Like you just you didn't let your family, the history, positive or negative, like, or the expectation of, well, my dad's a musician and an artist or a minister, so I'm going to do that, to the country that you lived in, to the culture that you were surrounded in, to, you ran after it, bro. You ran after those things, and you haven't given up, and you've got a lot of difficult things come your way over the years, that I've just watched you from up close in some seasons, but afar from most of them, and just watched the authenticity, the humility that you have remained yourself. And that piece of like Jordan being fully him is a huge gift to the world. And man, I'm just so thankful for that. I'm thankful that you're leading more people than you realize because of the way you're authentically living your life and representing something that a lot of people wish that they could have a taste of in their life. And so thank you for not giving up on the dreams. Thank you for continuing to push through even when those no's came or those doors felt like they stayed closed. Because I don't even think you've scratched the surface yet, bro. I know you haven't scratched the surface yet for what the Lord, and that's not to take away anything that you're doing or have done. Like you're right. You've done some amazing things. Like the gifting, like, just to be very clear, the gifting that God has given you is unbelievable. And when I think about the season that I got to spend with you and Trent, especially, and your family tour in Australia, every night, we played the same songs. I would open with a song, dude.
Your Taylor Swift song.
Taylor Swift song. Bro, I'll never forget the moment. Speaking of your dad and playing, he would play in, chapels or pubs or whatever. I'll never forget. We had like a couple days of like some vacation days or whatever we call holiday days or whatever at like a little trailer resort thing. And there was a pub there or like a bar there. And your dad's like, hey, you guys want to go play some music tonight? And, he's like, Chase, you want to do a song? And I was like, I've got like a love song, like to Taylor Swift that I wrote. So if you want me to play that, and he's like, perfect. I'll never forget that. But bro,
to all these beer drinking guys at the
back, like, who the heck is this kid? Man, you just, the gifting, the skill set. I never got tired of listening to you and Trent play guitar and sing and share your story. And the fact that that's happening still, you're continuing to share your story in songs and helping other people share their story in songs is beautiful, bro. And like I said, I think it's just beginning what the Lord has in store for you and your future and family. So
thank you, man. Well, if there's anything I want to wrap up on is, whatever your pains and your highs and lows in life, they can all be used in this next season of your life. And there's people that you will encounter every day that need to hear the realness of it. Yeah. I always say, be real and be kind. Like, there's people need that more and more in their life. It's just people that would just be real and kind with people, not cocky, not overconfident, not opinionated, all of these things that we can naturally just find ourselves becoming because of all of this stuff that's around us or what we're consumed by. But be real, be kind, guys.
Yeah, so good.
And love on people.
Amen. If people want to follow you and like discover part of your music, and I mean, I'll put all the stuff in like the show notes, but like just
my Spotify, you know, obviously I'm on Instagram, but my Spotify is my main source of,
and just Jordan Grace. Will they find your stuff there?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, dude, well, it's been an honor, and thank you for being a part of my life and being a part of my story. And I appreciate you, mate. Love you a lot.
Thanks for joining me today. With that, I'll see you next time.